Hello, everybody. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathered on, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and future. I would also like to acknowledge all the Indigenous peoples in the room today and pay my respects to any elders which may be present. My name is Natasha Mary Ward. I am a proud Indigenous woman and an intern at Bupa in Melbourne. Yeah, fam. Hopefully one day I will be able to stand in front of such a prestigious crowd and introduce myself and tell you who my mob is, but unfortunately today is not that day. I, like many others in this room, have lost that vital piece of my culture due to the lasting effects of colonisation and the stolen generations. My sister, Stephanie, who is also an intern in the CareerTrackers program, and myself are actively trying to reclaim our culture. However, it can be very hard. My pop turned 90 1 month ago. He grew up in the middle of the stolen generations. This was a time where you would deny your heritage by force or to try and fit in with the community. For my pop, this has meant being disconnected from his family and ashamed of his Aboriginality. This mindset of being ashamed of your heritage has been passed down in my family. My pop will close up every time we try and talk to him, and as he's getting older, his memory is getting worse, and it is harder to get any information. Luckily, Stephanie and I were always told by our mama to be proud of our culture, and we have always grown up seeking opportunities to be part of it. Being an Indigenous woman who does not know her mob can be hard. I grew up on the outskirts of Melbourne and went to Whittlesea Secondary College. Whittlesea is a country tech school, so we got to do a lot of woodwork and metalwork, which I absolutely loved. I still have the coffee table which I made in Year 9 in my room today. It's great. I was known to get very passionate about Aboriginal issues in class. I had many arguments with my classmates about the lack of Indigenous history taught in our schools and about stereotyping, how we don't all look one way, and that does not make me any less Aboriginal. So often, I heard my classmates telling me how people only claim that they're Aboriginal to get all these benefits from the government. I'd really like that new Mercedes and house that they were talking about now, because I'm sure it could help with university. Nonetheless, I did always love school. I had a passion for learning, especially science. I'm a bit of a geek. However, during VCE, my grades began to drop. The people who I had called friends for the past 4 years had begun to bully and shun me. While that doesn't seem like a big deal to me now, at the time, it was a very big deal. I became disconnected and did not enjoy going to school. My teachers pushed me to try harder, as I had always been a good student. While I did try harder for a while, I soon withdrew back into myself. This affected my grades, and I graduated VCE without the ATAR I needed to get into my dream course, the double degree of secondary education and science at Monash. Mama had always had a really strong focus on education. Unfortunately, due to really hard circumstances, she was never able to attend high school. This made her raise my sister and I with a really strong focus on education. With this mindset, I knew that I had to get into university and be a good role model for my sister and my little brother. I was accepted into the Bachelor of Science at La Trobe University, but I still really wanted to get into Monash. It'd been my dream. I was fortunate enough to be offered a place in a pathway program, which if I got really great grades, they would transfer me directly into the double degree. The program at Monash was at that time called the Enabling Program. Through this, we did an academic writing course, a data analysis course, and a course from the unit that you wanted to move into. I worked really, really hard for a semester and did not allow myself to get distracted. And at the end of the semester, I completed that course with a high distinction average. I have heard some people talk about how access programs are a handout for Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islanders. I passionately disagree. Coming through a pathway program does not make myself or anyone else any better or worse of a student. Every single person should have the chance to achieve our goals. I don't understand why we write people off as bad students so young. The person that we all are in high school is completely different to the person that we become during university. I've seen very many successes from different pathway programs. My friend Jack, who is here, went through the Enabling Program the year before me. Last year, he was called onto this very stage and was awarded the Project Excellence Award for his amazing work with Viva Energy. Being able to study and highlight these opportunities can have a rippling effect on our families and our communities. Last year, my sister started an arts degree at Monash and is planning to move into the double degree of education and arts this year. I'm incredibly proud of her. I hope that our 10-year-old brother Nicholas, who is here tonight over there, looks at Stephanie and I and is inspired to achieve his dreams of the future. These pathway programs give us the chance to succeed where we may have not been able to due to various circumstances. Since starting at Monash, I have been given many amazing opportunities. Last year, I was given the chance to go to the World Indigenous Peoples Conference on Education and attend the annual meeting of the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium in Canada. I was so excited, but also terrified at the same time. Being asked to go and represent the whole of Monash, I felt that I did not deserve it. These conferences are filled with people who have so much knowledge and culture. It was hard knowing that I would have to explain so many times during these 2 weeks that I did not know who my mob was. When you meet another Indigenous person, as I'm sure you're all familiar, the first 2 questions you usually hear are, what's your name and who's your mob? I've gotten very good at avoiding the question throughout the years, as I was ashamed that I could not answer such a seemingly simple question. On the very first day of the conference, I was called out for avoiding the question. There was a session where the university students got to have a yarn with an Indigenous elder from Australia. As we were going around the circle and introducing ourselves and talking about what we were doing, I was asked, what's my name and who's my mob? When I very cheerfully responded, my name's Natasha and I'm from Melbourne, I was asked again who my mob is. We got into a really hard conversation about why I had been avoiding the question for so long. I was told by that elder that I should not be ashamed of the fact that I do not know my mob, and that so many of us don't. We need to be proud of our culture and reclaim what has been lost. Only by acknowledging that I don't know who my mob is will I be able to connect with people who can help me reclaim that and be able to walk around as a proud and confident Indigenous woman? I will admit that I did cry. It was the first time that anybody in the Indigenous community, let alone an elder, had told me that it is okay not to know. The conversation inspired me to be a lot stronger in my own identity. During the rest of the conferences, I did not shy away from the question, and I got to have some amazing and inspiring conversations with Indigenous peoples from cultures all around the globe. I loved learning about what Indigenous education looks like in New Zealand especially. One primary school sent 4 of their Year 6 students to come and tell us about a science project that they had been working on. The students went to a small all-Māori school and were taught primarily in their native language. Isn't that absolutely amazing? The science project had taken a look at traditional stories of moths, while also looking at the life cycles, biologies, and habitats. The integration of Western and traditional education fascinates me, and I love looking at how it's being utilised in other cultures. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of Kevin Rudd's official apology to those affected by the stolen generations. I still remember the day the speech was given. My primary school acknowledged it by having a flag-lowering ceremony where we lowered the flag to half-mast to pay our respects to those who had been affected and still are. It was an amazing public first step. Stephanie and I, and many other Indigenous peoples, are pushing and fighting to keep our amazing cultures alive. The integration of Indigenous education and culture is an amazing way to be able to educate both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples to the histories and rich cultures of our homeland. I wanted to study education and science because I feel that it's the best way that I can give back to my community. I want to go out and teach others to have a passion for learning, and I would love to share my passions and excitement for science. I believe that being able to teach Indigenous students and many non-Indigenous students about the histories of the land and the amazing science that our ancestors have been using for the past 60,000 years will be able to inspire the next generation of Australians to reconcile. I hope that I can inspire these changes through my students. Thank you very much.